Hey everyone, it's Monday and time for another Monday Mastery live at 5. We'll give it a couple of minutes here and let a few people jump on. And when you get on here, say hi, tell me where you're at, where you're listening or watching from. And as you can see, I'm still in my northern office in Ironwood, Michigan. And it's been a lot longer trip than I anticipated. I had hoped to be back in Kansas City Saturday night, but it looks like I may be back as early as tomorrow night, but probably not until Wednesday. So, it's just, it's like life. Things just happen, and there are projects up here that I needed to get completed before I start heading south, and it's delayed my move south for the winter, but I've got to take care of things up here. And one of the encouraging, hey Susan, thanks for joining in. One of the one of the things that's encouraging me to get things wrapped up here is that it was 9 degrees this morning, and I think we had about 3 inches of snow yesterday or Saturday, I don't know, one of the two. And so it's, it's nice to be here for a little bit in the snow. I enjoy it a little bit, but to spend a lot of time up here, more time than I need to, no thank you. Anyway, I hope you all had a great week last week and a fun weekend. We are in Thanksgiving weekend, or Thanksgiving week. Hey Shar, thanks for joining in. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. And this is a time that often gets really, really stressful. It's also a time where a lot of us get very lonely, especially, when we're singles or don't have family, don't have connections or places to go for the holidays, to celebrate the holidays, because typically the holidays are family oriented. And, for those of us that are single and living alone, it can be pretty, not only stressful, but it can be very lonely. So, a couple of things that I'd like to share with you that might help. Hang on, I got to put this up. This is, Shar says, punt, going to the beach with a girlfriend. There you go. Hey, Janine, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. And Janine's a longtime friend of mine from just across the river. Well, I guess actually you live in Ironwood now. So anyway, glad to see you're here. So there are a number of things you can do. You can do something like Shar and grab a friend and go to the beach, or go to the mountains and watch it snow, or just take a road trip somewhere. There are any number of things that you can do. If you can't be with family but have an invitation, you can always FaceTime or Skype and have a nice afternoon that way. I know of folks that will Skype for hours at a time and share football games, or share the Thanksgiving Day parade. Everybody's watching the parade and saying ooh those types of things. So there are ways of working around the loneliness. It's always enjoyable to be with family or friends. I understand that. One of my favorite traditions is always to make a huge Thanksgiving dinner, especially if I'm alone, and make all the fixings: the pie, the dressing, the beans, whatever, the mashed potatoes and gravy, because I am a fiend for leftovers. So there's for me, that is an awesome tradition. We spend 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 hours cooking and preparing, and it takes about 5 minutes to eat. It seems like really all that, and then there's an hour's worth of cleanup afterwards. So there's something to be said for being single and only having an hour's worth of cleanup to do, as opposed to 2 hours if you've got 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 people. But then you have other people, hopefully, that are pitching in also. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining in. Paul's in Iowa, northern Iowa. And Paul, just give you a quick shout out. I did get your email. I just have not had a chance to respond, but I'll get back to you either later tonight or first thing in the morning. So, Janine says, buy paper plates. That's about all I eat off of now, especially since I'm full-time RVing just moving from place to place and a little more frequently, it just keeps things from getting broken, and there's a lot less dishes to wash. And anybody that knows that's familiar with camping or spending time in a trailer, you generally have limited water capacity and waste capacity as far as holding tanks are concerned. And so you always try to preserve a little bit. Yeah, Janine, I do. Janine says I use them all the time being single. I do too. It's just so much easier. So anyway, but those, and if you guys have thoughts or ideas, like Shar, Shar's heading to the beach for Thanksgiving, and if you guys have single routines or traditions that you do, let us know, and post it, and I'll be happy to share it. A couple of other side notes here. Again, this is the holiday season, and we tend to get so crazy and so wrapped up, so busy. I traditionally bake literally hundreds of dozens of Christmas cookies, and this year I can't do it. Because number one, I moved out of my apartment and I don't have an oven in my trailer. Number one, and number two, I don't have an oven and refrigerator up here. At least I've got a small little, the miniature refrigerator, but nothing that I could use for doing my traditional baking. And I actually tried to go out and buy some recently, and everything is so backed up that the earliest I could get a refrigerator was I think February. So, well, there kind of goes that idea. Janine says there are nice community-free Thanksgiving dinners around the area. That's awesome for people that have no one. That's a great idea, and I know there are community Thanksgivings everywhere. And I'm glad to hear they've got them up here. I know a number of churches down in the Kansas City area that do that very thing, and there are other organizations. Shar says, going to Jekyll Island and St. Simons Island, Georgia. Gail is driving up from, your friend Gail. And I'm driving down from South Carolina. Should be fun. Might even come across a wild turkey. Now, is that wild turkey as in the animal or wild turkey as in the alcohol? Anyway, so there's, those are great ideas. Just the community, the community Thanksgiving dinners, and I've been to a couple of those over the years, and especially if everybody brings a side, or a dessert, there's some awesome food, and I end up eating more there than I would at a traditional Thanksgiving, because you want to sample everything, a little bit here, a little bit there. So that's, and this is the way it's going to be literally through New Year's. And, so and that's it just brought another, sampling food. There's typically this is the time of year for snacks and cookies and candies and all these homemade goods that people bring into the office, or they drop by, or you go to a party and there's all kinds of good stuff. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that bring if you're invited to one of these things, bring a vegetable tray or bring a fruit tray, something that's healthy. And not that we don't all enjoy the sweet goods, the goodies. But after New Year's, we all complain about eating too much and gaining 5 pounds, 10 pounds over the holidays, and then once we do that, it's much harder to take it off. I know, I'm working on it, and I'm not very successful at it. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. But see, that's something else. And one of the things that I found is as you eat healthier, you actually feel a little better, or a lot better, depending on how much junk food you eat. But I find that if I nosh on carrots or grapes, or an apple, that I feel much better than after noshing on a donut or cookies or cake or whatever's hanging around at the time. So those are some thoughts to keep in the back of your mind when you see the vegetable tray. Make sure you load up on more vegetables and fruits than the sweet stuff. And it'll in what I'm learning from my own weight issues is that some of these things, especially like grapes and carrots and watermelon, cantaloupe, those types of things, you don't have to eat a lot, but they fill you up. And that's to me, that's something that's really important, that helps me keep from noshing and keep stuffing food in my face. And there are other stressors. There are other things that, other than being alone. There's shopping. There's all of the preparation, decorating the house and or the apartment, or in my case, the trailer. So we're going to see how that goes this year. Because this will be the first time I've had it out after the 1st of October. So I'll post a picture on Facebook, so anybody that follows me on Facebook can watch and see how the trailer gets decorated for Christmas. So, but there's all those things. Everybody wants to make things just perfect, and one of the things that I found is I don't know that there's anything that's perfect. There's a situation that's perfect decorations. I mean, you may think that you may strive for perfection and try to get everything just right, but if there's something amiss, only you are going to know it. Only you are going to know that, oh, there's not a decoration in that corner. The rest of the people that come over that see it are going to say, oh my gosh, you've done such a beautiful job. Hey, Phil, thanks for joining in. Phil says, all that food is sure sounding good. Yes, it does. And I'm looking forward to cooking a small turkey and making some stuffing this week and just enjoying some of the seasonal foods. Hey, Sylvia, thanks for joining in. Sylvia says, where will you be for Thanksgiving? What are you cooking? I will probably be somewhere in Oklahoma. And right now, either tomorrow night or Wednesday night, I'll be back in the Kansas City area. And then the next day I will hook up and start heading south. So I technically may be on the road on Thanksgiving. So I'll probably do my Thanksgiving dinner over the weekend, but it'll probably be somewhere in Oklahoma. I want to spend some time in that state. I enjoy traveling through Oklahoma, and then I will be in Central Texas in the Belton Temple area starting December 1st. So. It's it's going to be some travel for the next few days, and it's going to be interesting because I normally just park. For those of you that are not familiar with some of my travels, I spend my summers up here in northern Michigan, northern Wisconsin, and I just keep my trailer parked for 5 months. And usually it's been stored, but this year it's a different story. So I will share my moves and some of my adventures, my travels, and I'm looking forward. My grandson thinks he really wants to get into camping, and he's trying to convince his parents to buy him a family trailer. So he'll be able to spend some time with me and see if this is something he really likes, or it's just kind of, not so much. So anyway, those are, those are just some of the things to think about through the holidays, and just for your own health, your own happiness. Yeah, eat some more fruits and vegetables. I try to keep some on hand all the time. It doesn't always work traveling, but do the best you can. But don't do it to the point where you're not enjoying life. So, that's another part of the holidays. The holidays are a time to be enjoyed. Thanksgiving is a time for us to give thanks for everything that we have. It doesn't, just because we don't have everything we want, or may not have everything we want, just because we're not in the relationship of our dreams, doesn't mean we can't be happy, and doesn't mean we can't be thankful for what we do have in our lives, the friends, the family, the stuff that you have, And I'll tell you, going to full-time RVing, you learned very quickly what stuff you really need and what you don't. I would venture a guess that I've probably pared down my total assets, everything, by about 80%. And some things I do have in storage, but clothes are at a minimum. You learn to wear clothes more than one day. You learn to wear clothes for 3 or 4 days before they go in the hamper, just because you don't carry a lot of stuff with you. But anyway, that's on the personal side. There's a couple of interesting things. I had a couple of interesting observations over the weekend, and through last week, after last week's podcast, or last week's show. We talked about, was it last week or the week before, being truthful, and my blog came out and talked about the same thing, being truthful, and can you tell the truth, and can you hear the truth? And it just so happened I came up on an incident over the weekend that a friend of mine, she's just newly divorced, hasn't been divorced 6 months, and she's engaged again. And for the life of me, I would love to be happy for her, but everything that's running through my mind is a train wreck. That this is a train wreck happening in slow motion in front of me. And again, she's as happy as can be, but I just, and so if you guys have any thoughts on how to manage the emotions there, I'd love to hear it. On the one hand, I'm happy for her, I'm excited for her. On the other hand, it's just, and I don't know when the proverbial shoe is going to drop, but I just, and it's because of the situation. I know her, and if I were to say anything to her, it would be one of those things that I guarantee she wouldn't listen. She wouldn't hear what I had to say. She would probably take offense to it, that I'm not gushing and overly happy for her and saying congratulations and, oh, I'm so happy, like we all do. But again, I'm looking at the big picture and looking long term, and I just don't see this as a relationship that will work out. I pray that I am wrong. I totally do. I'm not trying to curse that relationship, but and I'm sure you've all seen relationships that you just look at it and shake your head and say, "Oh my God, this is a train wreck." And then a few years down the road, it's it's all over except the crying. Hey, Martha, thanks for joining in. Martha says, all you can do is pray for her. And that's right. That's all I can do is pray that it works out for her and that it is the relationship of her dreams. And I truly do. And I've been wrong before, but my gut, my antenna are up. Instinct is saying, this isn't working, or this isn't going to work. But that's not me. It's not my choice. It's not my decision, and I can only be an outside observer. So so in part of the introduction that I made online when I announced today's subject was that moving on. Moving on is important because we can get hung up on past relationships, and in this case, this woman, she moved on really quick, and part of my spider sense, I guess, is that she hasn't taken time to heal from her last marriage, and it was a very, very toxic marriage. And so there are so many layers that need to be peeled back, and she needs to rediscover who she is and what she likes and what she wants and what she doesn't want. And there are some people that can do that fairly quickly, but I don't know that you can do that in just a couple of months. So but that again, we're all different, and I just see things from experience, and again, my gut instinct is just something's firing, something isn't wrong. So it's and for any one of you that has questions about that, or has maybe exploring a relationship with someone and are not sure, feel free to drop me a line, because if you're straight up with me, I can pretty much tell in a very, very short time whether you're looking at the potential of a great relationship or an extraordinary relationship, or if you're headed for a train wreck. And most of the time, when you start asking me questions about this or about that, about relationships, I think most of you already know the answer. You're just looking for verification. I'm happy to verify what your thoughts are, or to affirm what your thoughts are. So please feel free, if you have questions, to drop me a note, or even to pop them in the chat here today. But and that's my friend is one case of letting go very quickly, and I'm not sure she's taken enough time to heal, as I said, and even to grieve the loss of that relationship. And even though it's toxic, we still grieve the loss of the marriage, because we all want a marriage to work when we're there. Then the flip side of that is hanging on way too long. And I received a message from a gentleman this weekend that said he's been divorced, I think he said, for 15 or 20 years, and he's still hanging on to the grief, to the anger that his wife left him and married somebody else. And even to the point where he shared with me that he's done prison time for attacking the guy. And so, while it's one thing to hang on and there's for a while, and I think we all do that because we all feel bad about losing that relationship, and or at least some relationships that we thought were pretty good, but to hang on to it for that long, that's unhealthy. And to carry such rage and such anger that you're willing to go out and attack someone, there are, that's one of those situations where you really need to seek counseling or therapy to help you move past, because you cannot be in a great relationship. You can't really be in any kind of a relationship if you're harboring that kind of anxiety, that kind of anger, that kind of emotion, negative emotion, because you're still grabbing on to something that's number one, that's not there, but something that's past. You're remaining emotionally attached to someone, and as long as you're doing that, you're not free to you're not free to search for another relationship and to move forward, at least not in a healthy way, because you're dragging all that negativity, all that blackness, the darkness, the anger, the frustration, the loneliness. You're dragging all that into a new relationship, and then the new person has to deal with or has to deal with that. So it just really is a huge issue in being able to move forward in a healthy way, is to let go of the past. Now, does that mean you can't have good memories or have heartache? No, it doesn't. But over a period of time, that should diminish if you're dealing with it in a healthy way. It should diminish to where you don't cry every day. It should diminish to where you don't think about it every day, or think about your ex every day, or who they're with or what they're doing. And that is one of the big reasons why I always tell people that it's always wise to disconnect, to block people on social media. And it's not so they can't see what you're doing. It's so that you can't easily look at what they're doing. Yes, you can go and unblock them once they're blocked, and if you have a weak moment. But then you run that risk of starting to open up wounds again. You tear the stitches away that are there, or the scars away. You open up those scars again, and that's one of the worst things you can do. And I know, I've been there, I've done it. I've had a couple of relationships where I've been affected by exaholism, where there's just something about certain people, and maybe you all have experienced that from time to time with certain relationships. It's not every relationship, but there may be certain relationships where you just go absolutely, for lack of better terms, crazy, because they're on your mind all the time. But even so, when you deal with it in a healthy way, eventually you'll get past it. And you can get past those things by being social, going out and doing things. You can, going to the community Thanksgiving dinners, grabbing a friend and going to Jekyll Island or St. Simon's Island, or going to the mountains and maybe getting in a little early skiing if any of the ski hills are open. Or just going someplace and getting a room and getting away and just exploring a different community. Go meet some people. Go take a walk in the park. Go, just and get some fresh air. And when you do that, just the simple act of going out and going for a walk, it does wonders. It changes your attitude, changes your outlook. you allow yourself, and especially if you try just to let your mind wander and not think about anything in particular, you'll discover that just the fresh air and the movement helps rejuvenate you, puts you in a better mood, makes you walk a little taller, makes you smile a little brighter, smile a little wider. And right now, for a number of reasons, for some of us, it's pretty hard to smile. You know, we watch the news, we get all crazy about this stuff, and we tend to lose our smile. And you know, even if you don't feel like smiling, put a damn smile on your face. You know, it's like you tell the kids, I don't care whether you like it, you're going to eat it. You know, I don't care if you're unhappy, smile. And there's a physiological change that if you're not feeling well, if you're feeling down, and you walk into your bathroom or bedroom and look at a mirror and put a smile on your face, guess what? Your body is going to change. Your physiology is going to change. If you stand a little straighter, you're going to naturally breathe differently, and you're going to your attitude is going to change. You know, when you stand up and you know, head up, shoulders back, you know, you're going to act differently. You're going to feel differently. You're going to feel better. You know, and so if you're feeling down, especially this time of year, think about your posture. Are you slumping? Are you you know, are you walking with your head down, or you know, and a scowl on your face, or are you walking around standing up straight, head up, and smiling at everybody that walks by? You know, that makes a huge difference in not only, you know, if you walk by and smile at someone and say hi. Not only will it put a smile on their face, and in most cases, but it'll make you feel better. Hey, Michael Ray, let's see. Hello, Rick. I recently ended a relationship that I've been in for 5 years due to her still talking to her ex-husband. Have you ever heard of Celebrate Recovery? I'm not exactly familiar with Celebrate Recovery. You'll have to share something with me, or if you can share a link, that would be great. But I think, and depending on your situation, that's probably a wise idea. I mean, if she's still in contact with her ex, I mean, for any reason other than kids, I mean, if it's just to follow up, see how he's doing, what's going on. Yeah, that's if that relationship were truly over, then the communication in general should have ended. But I mean, if it's to coordinate birthdays or holidays or you know, things dealing with kids or grandkids, it's you know, there's let's see. Did I read that? Oh, talking about. I'm sorry. Talking about. Yeah, that's. I'm sorry. I misread that, Michael. No, if she's still talking about him, yeah, then yeah, she's still emotionally connected. I apologize for that. She's still connected to him, and she's not fully emotionally available for you. So that was a wise decision. My mistake. I misread that your first comment. So, but yeah, that's a wise decision, Michael. Move on, and I'm not sure if you go by Michael or Michael Ray. It's wise when you start dating somebody that it's okay to talk about, when you're getting to know each other, it's okay to share, what happened in your marriage, or why things happened, and move on from that. But if it's a constant, and in your situation, for 5 years, oh my gosh, if yeah, she was not fully emotionally available for you, and that's toxic to a relationship, as you're well aware. So yeah, I think you made a good move there. So so those, that's that's a perfect example of not letting go. It's like the gentleman I talked about a little bit earlier, that he's been divorced for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years, and he's still hanging on to his ex. There's just no way that you can ever move into a new relationship successfully. You just, there comes a point that you have to let go. You have to come to the realization, and one of the best ways of doing that, in my opinion, we all like to, when a relationship ends, we all tend to look at the good things. Oh, I miss this, I miss that, I miss that. But then, what are the reasons that you left? What are the reasons that caused you to leave in the first place? And there may be multiple reasons. You have to it's important to step back and remember those things. Was there a power struggle, in one trying to be dominant over the other? Was there a communication issue? I mean, did you have the same sense of humor? Did you have or similar senses of humor? Were there things that you enjoyed together, or not many things? Were you of the same religion or spiritual beliefs? These are all things that need to fall into place. And the more things you have in common, the stronger your relationship is going to be. And so you have to take a look. You have to go back and remember what wasn't right, what wasn't working for you. And those are the things that you have to focus on. And we can have weak moments and say, yeah, I really miss you. Yeah, I'd really like to be with them. And a lot of times it's the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, or so the saying goes. But then you're still dealing with the same problems you had before you broke up. And when you and just to be with somebody, or to be with somebody just to be with someone, that's not healthy. You should be looking for extraordinary. You should be looking for your soulmate. And I talked to somebody over the weekend, or we messaged back, we emailed back and forth, and one of her concerns is that she doesn't like first dates. And I don't know many of us that do enjoy first dates, especially if you divorced or widowed for any length of time. In the beginning, first dates can be a lot of fun. Hey, I'm going out on a date the first time in a long time. Oh, I'm excited. But then after a while, in my case, it's 11 going on 12 years. First dates just they don't excite me much anymore, because I recognize that, and it's part of the analytical characteristics in my personality, that I recognize that first dates are just introductions, and the odds that it's going to go anywhere are very, very low. And I'm not trying to be discouraging. I'm just being practical. Let's look at this. Let's, try to make dating dating fun. Yeah, you got to go through the first dates. But until you go through the first date, you don't know if there's going to be a second, third, 12th, or marriage out of it. So you have to take those steps. You have to go through the process. It's all about discovery. And if you discover that there are a lot of commonalities, well, great. But then if you discover, that, yeah, there's just not a lot in common, yeah, it's It's time to move on. And Shar says, that's how I view that anyway. Meet and greet, no great expectations. See, awesome. And let's see, just go and enjoy meeting someone new. Exactly. That's exactly what I say. Go and enjoy the coffee or cocktails. And I always encourage just coffee or cocktails, because then you're not committed for a 2-hour dinner, or never go to a movie on a first date, because you can't talk. You can talk a little bit as you walk into the theater or on your way to the theater, and you can talk a little bit afterwards. But for the most part, you're spending 2 hours together, 2.5 hours together, and not learning. So movies and things like that, romantic dinners, leave that for dates further down the road, after you've gotten to know each other a little bit. And if you start with coffee, you can always go to lunch or to dinner, or if you start with cocktails and things go well, you can always go do dinner, or a walk. In one of the popular things to do in the Kansas City area is to go to the plaza and walk the plaza, because there's lots of fountains, there's lots of nice stores, there's some coffee shops, there's some good restaurants and bars that you can just sit and talk. But there, it's keep it simple, and especially for the guys, because guys, if you're really a true gentleman, you're going to be paying, and it's tough, guys, to go on a bunch of first dates and be paying $150 for dinner and drinks and just for a first date. And so that's why I say, it's coffee or cocktails. Make it simple, no pressure. Then, and guys, for just coffee and cocktails, you're not putting a lot of pressure on the lady to get all dolled up, and not, and ladies, don't misunderstand me. You're going to do that anyway. You're going to get dressed and look very nice. You're going to look beautiful. But it's not it's not the little black dress and pearls and all the makeup, and keep it more casual, at least in my opinion. That way you can be much more relaxed, and the whole idea is to be as relaxed as possible and just get to know each other, share ideas, share thoughts, share who you are. You can share, again, you can share about past relationships, but don't make it an interrogation. I can't tell you how terrible dates are when they become interrogations. And I've been on a few of those. And it's just like, well, why are you divorced? Why are you still single? And it's very disheartening, and very, you just check that one off. And unless there's some really, really good chemistry. I've even talked to a couple of people, one or two women on the phone that just, I don't know, and I can't remember exactly off the top of my head how the questions were asked, but it was a series of questions that just caused me to dredge up 20-year-old emotions from my marriage, and it was like, oh, this isn't fun. I had set most of those emotions aside and had moved on, and sometimes when you probe too deeply, or in certain ways, you can dig up emotions that in the person you're with, that it just makes it really uncomfortable. And it's like, yeah, I wanted to put those emotions away. I was done with those emotions. And not that I'm trying to hide anything or had anything to hide. It's just, it just conjures up these feelings that, yeah, this was not a good time in my life. And so, and I'm assuming that most of you are the same, that when you go through a time in life that wasn't a lot of fun for you, you do keep memories, but you don't keep them on the front burner. You put those on the back burner or put them in the freezer, where they're out of the way, and hopefully way in the back of the freezer that you don't have to look at them and thaw them out anytime soon. And Char says, I just went through that. Very bad memory brought out with questions, and Char, I'm sorry for that, because like I said, it's painful, because you're just dredging up stuff that, like I said, should be in the back of the freezer and never to be seen again. And hopefully at some point down the road you can say, oh, that's there, we better throw that out, that isn't good. So, but it's sad that the woman that asked me the questions was not intending to cause me any pain. She was just curious about what was going on, but it was kind of the tone of her voice and the questions that were asked. They just dug some really. And there were a couple of questions I recall that she just didn't let go of, and when you ask me a question, I may hesitate a bit, but I'm going to answer it. If you ask me a question, I will give you an answer, and a truthful answer, and sometimes that's what dredges up those old emotions. So anyway, any questions or thoughts or concerns that you want to bring up here? We're down to the last quarter here, and we'll try to wrap things up. I will be. Where will I be? I'll be someplace in Oklahoma next next Monday. So I'll probably be broadcasting from the trailer. If it's nice, I might do it from outside, depending on how noisy it is. But anyway, and for those of you that follow my blog, there won't be a blog this week, because that happens on Thursday. And even though I write some of this stuff in advance, we're just going to pass this week. We're going to have a happy Thanksgiving. And what are you? Char told us what her plans are. She's going with a friend to Jekyll Island. What are some of your plans? The rest of you, what are some of your plans for Thanksgiving? I will probably be on the road, dragging my trailer somewhere through Oklahoma and setting up. So probably won't be much of a Thanksgiving dinner there, but I'll cook one on the weekend, because I love leftovers. I love turkey sandwiches, and I love stuffing, and although this year it'll probably be just stovetop. I don't know. I'll have to find a small pan and make a small batch. I've got a little countertop oven that I can bake some small stuff in, and so I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the holidays and starting some new traditions. And hey, Marcia, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining in. Marcia says, "Have a wonderful Thanksgiving." Well, thank you, Marcia. I intend to. You as well. Hey, Lindsay, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. So that's another thing. When we're single, we have certain traditions or we start traditions, new traditions, or we continue some of our family traditions. One of mine was baking Christmas cookies. This year it's a little different because I don't have an oven, and my daughter and I had talked about baking at her house, but my ex-mother-in-law is living there now, and she was just recently diagnosed with cancer, with lung cancer, and so we're not going to be doing any baking there. We have to be very careful about masking up even in the house around her to make sure she stays healthy until surgery in January, and so we're just trying to take, especially my daughter. My daughter is awesome. I don't know where she got all that caring and concern from, but she's an awesome daughter and taking care of her grandmother the way she is. So that's. So the point there is one of my traditions is falling by the wayside this year. So I have to come up with new traditions. What are some of your traditions? Especially for those of you that have been single for a while. What do you do? What do you do for holiday, for Thanksgiving? What do you do for Christmas? What do you do for New Year's? Is it anymore? At my age, if I'm up till 11:30 for New Year's, I'm done. I've seen enough of the New York City crystal ball drop, and you watch the different New Year's celebrations around the world as they happen, and it's like, yeah, okay, I've seen it, been there, done it, bought the T-shirt, wore it out. So anyway, well. I have no more questions in the queue here, no more comments in the queue, so I guess we'll just wrap it up for today. I hope you all have an awesome week. Stay calm. Take a deep breath when you start feeling stressed out. And just recognize that you're feeling stressed out, and recognize in advance that you are going to get stressed out. So. Learn to recognize when the stress is coming on. Learn to take a breath, or go out and walk around the house, or walk around the parking lot wherever you're at, and just unwind, relax, and getting some fresh air, breathing deep will allow you to step back from all the stress and say, yeah, if the green beans get overcooked, or if something gets undercooked, it'll be okay. We're all going to survive. It'll just give us a great story next Thanksgiving about, yeah, you remember how Lindsay burned the stuffing last year? Or and I'm picking on Lindsay. He's a buddy of mine. We went to high school together. Shar says, happy trails to you. Travel safe. And same to you. Shar, have a great time with your friend in the islands, and travel safe. And Sylvia says, thanks, Rick. Have a great week. No stress here, just happy. Awesome. Love to hear it. Thank you, guys. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for your comments. And I will see you next Monday for another edition of Monday Mastery, live at 5.